boils and ghouls. You are now tuned in to PVD Horror Podcast. Pleasant screams.
Hey everybody, welcome to the PVD Horror Show. My name is Dave, and today I am super honored. This is such a privilege. I'm getting to speak with Troy Duffy, who is the filmmaker of Boondock Saints, one of my favorite franchises. I know it's a beloved franchise for so many people. So he is here to talk about the franchise, talk about the upcoming Boondock Saints Volume 1 Blood Origin, which will be available for pre-order in ebook on September 23rd, so it already was.
October 21st is our pub date.
October 21st is the publication date. And we're just going to get right into it. So Troy, thank you so much for being here. This is an honor.
Dave, it's great to be on the horror podcast, man.
I'm gonna bring that up in a second because there is some adjacent stuff here. But the first thing I wanted to just notify, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, was you're actually a native New Englander, which is cool. Yeah. So we always like to kind of highlight that because us being from Rhode Island, you were in the Hartford area. So what are you're not there anymore, but what were some of the things that you loved about New England? I know you mentioned having family there too.
Oh yeah, just kind of growing up with a New England mindset and mentality, and knowing all those people. I still know a lot of the people that I grew up with there, from childhood on. It was one of the things, like when you move, like look at it this way: if you move from Rhode Island, where you're at, to Los Angeles, it will be years before you make what you would call a true friend in Los Angeles. You will find them. They are never from Los Angeles. They're never from even Southern California.
Right.
They're always from a place like New England.
Yeah.
York, So what I look at it like is you make lifelong friends easily, and they're easily found in New England. As soon as you leave there, the pool becomes disparate. And you find that it was years in Los Angeles before I started meeting people that, like in New England, your buddy says he's going to help you move. No matter if he got drunk the night before, he's there with bells on, 6 a.m. with a couple of Dunkin' Donuts. All right, let's do this. It sucks. But in LA, never. They'll be like, yeah, bro, I'll help you. Oh man, I'm sorry. I got abducted by aliens and anally probed. Nobody you're giving your word in New England is everything. Apparently, as you move farther away from New England, that becomes less and less a thing until you're on the opposite coast, where it becomes nothing. People that actually do what they say, and you're dealing with some of the most flaky people in the world, and you can't even understand it. You're like, I grew up with like people that, it's like, how can you continue to like be my friend and be around me after you just like do this stupid, like kind of screw me over a little bit, right?
I love that you're bringing this up though, because like, I think you're completely right. There is a sense of this like loyalty that you have in this area. And you're right. It's like when you give your word is everything. And if you don't show up on your word, that's a thing of, it's about character, and people care.
It's also like a Goodwill Hunting thing. One of the things they did in there, this great scene where they were going to get in a fight, and then he's like, you get your ass out of the car, or your neck. Like he was teaching his little brother that you don't ask who did what. If your buddies are in it, you're going in there and fighting on their side, and you could talk about it later.
Yeah.
That was always the way it was with us growing up, and certain things like the community itself would correct things. It's like everybody thinks they need to call the police or social workers. We never dealt with that. You could just shun or kind of exile or dress down somebody, and they'd get it, They're like, this is we've set our standards here. You don't realize it when you're going through it in New England, but you're being taught how to self-regulate. Not only by your parents. You ever had your grandfather go, like dress you down and be like, what the fuck is the matter with you that you would do that? I'm like, well, I expect you to be on my side. No, you're an idiot. And here's why. We used to get taught things by our elders, and we actually respected them. And it wasn't necessarily because we learned. it was because we were dressed down and embarrassed and told how stupid we were.
Right.
And like to see your grandma's face in disbelief at what a moron that does more to change you than being told what the right way is.
Could not agree more. Disappointment, disapproval from people that you respect and care about actually is effective. I don't. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Usually, yeah. But then like really weird stuff would happen. Like I remember here's a New England story. This is one of my favorites. Me and my little brother Taylor come home from school. We jump off the bus. Our grandpa is about to get in a fist fight with another old guy who's our across the street neighbor, right? Who was a professor. We were in Exeter. We lived in Exeter, New Hampshire at the time. He was a professor at Phillips Exeter Academy. So here are these two guys arguing it out, and we're like, well, "Grandpa," and it turned out it was maple syrup season. My grandpa tapped all the trees on our property, but this guy had these two huge old growth maples that must have been 20 feet around, right? So my grandpa tapped the trees in his front yard without asking, right? And they're just about to go for it. And he's like, we're starting to get like what the argument's about. And the guy's like, "You can't just tap another man's trees." And my grandpa goes, "You don't fucking own nature." Right. Meanwhile, he's got like 13 buckets apiece on this guy's trees. And my father rolls up in his caddy. He's just getting home, too. Like, what the hell's going on here? And he calms the situation down. He's like, "All right, you're making the maple syrup. He gets a half gallon." And they almost come to the thing, and the guy's like, "All right, fine." And my grandfather's fine. They shook it out, right? But it was because my grandfather's maple syrup was like liquid gold in our house. We would literally make sure that each child got just this exact same amount until it was gone, And he would do it the old-fashioned way. He had this tub and a campfire, and he'd just dump the syrup in, and it would all just go down to maple syrup. No addition of anything, no flavor, no nothing, right down to just this liquid gold that everyone in the family. Oh my God! It was like when it was over, people started crying. But then maple syrup season started up again. But that was one of the things we used to tease our grandfather about. Like he'd dress us down, he'd fix us, but then we were like, "You don't know nature, Brinkerhoff." And he'd be like, "Shut the fuck up."
You don't tap another man's tree is words to live by right there.
Duffy.
I think that was on one of the 10 Commandments, if I remember correctly. That was on the stones.
Oh, where I grew up, it was. Where I grew up,
that was the most New England story that's ever been told on here.
Yeah, you don't kick another man's dog, and you do not tap his trees.
Yes. So Troy, for anyone who's living under a rock, like the Boondock Saints came out in 1999. So I think it's probably one of the most beloved cult films of all time at this point. There was a list of all the cult films. I feel like Boondock Saints would be up there. I remember when it was released, or shortly after its release, I was in college. It was one of those movies that everybody was passing around. Like, you got to check this out. You got to watch this movie. It was like one of those like rites of passage. Like, if you didn't watch Boondock Saints yet, what's wrong with you? Are you even like part of this group? Like, what is wrong with you? Starring Willem Dafoe, Sean Patrick Flannery, Norman Reedus, all of them amazing careers. I can't remember where each one of them was at that time, except for Willem Dafoe was obviously already kind of notarized. But obviously they've all had amazing careers since.
Yeah.
When you had the feedback, the following you got from that, was that something you were ever expecting? Like, how did that kind of become known to you? Like, and how do you experience it today?
In a different way than we did at first. At first, it was what Reedus called the silent explosion. Because of Columbine, we were banned from U.S. theater screens. We basically didn't have a what you'd call a theatrical release. We four-walled 2 theaters on our own, but that is not quite what people think when they think theatrical release. So we didn't really get that, but Blockbuster gave us what's called a Blockbuster exclusive. They released Boondock like it was a big movie, 60 to 120 copies a store. Like, you remember back then, some independent film would come out, there'd be like 2 copies per Blockbuster. Yeah. Yep. They released Boondock like it was a big one, and fans found it right away, or we made fans, right? Like, and their first reaction was they thought it was a movie they missed in theaters.
Yeah.
And then when they found out that it was banned and they didn't see it in theaters, their reaction was like, "You Hollywood motherfuckers finally make something we want to see, and you don't even
Yeah.
put it." So they were pissed right out at first, but then, this again, silent explosion started taking place. I started going around seeing kids with the tattoos. Boondock is probably one of the most tattooed movies of all time. I started seeing kids with the tattoos. You start, you're going places and hearing, guys on intramural, bowling leagues recite the prayer in unison at
Mm.
the bowling alley. They have no idea who I am. I'm just like, oh my God, that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
we're starting to see the cult. It was a cult realization too. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, you guys have made it. It was just like a slow realization. The boys would call me up. Rocco would call me up. He told me this.
Yeah.
They would all have these really funny stories about being recognized and even mobbed in certain places, and other people going, "Who the hell are you guys?" Because not everybody knew it's a cult thing.
Yeah.
And I think cult is about the coolest word in film. I can die now. I've done a cult classic, but yeah, you don't know at first. We didn't know, and then what that's turned into is, yeah, well, over the years, going to doing the sequel, going to Comic-Con, seeing the reactions of fans off the charts, going and doing, like you just mentioned, college, right? The first place we spoke at a college was Kent State University, and it was like one of the biggest student bodies ever. And they had just made this brand new theater event center. It was like 1,000-seat capacity. There's like a low, like mezzanine deck up there. It looked like you were in an opera house. So they toured it. It was just me and Norman, right? We toured it, and we were like, how many people come to these speaking events, right? Because we had never done anything before. And they were like, oh, Chuck D was just here. He was the first guy to speak in our new facility. And he filled up the whole first 3 rows, like 150 kids. It was a highly successful event. And we're like, because that was like the tiniest fraction of how huge this place was, right?
Right.
3 rows. So, me and Norman were like just crying into our beers that night. Like, we're not going to do as good as Chuck fucking D, Public Enemy. You kidding me? So we get there the next day, and dude, the fire marshal showed up, tried to shut the whole thing down. It was not only packed, there were kids standing along the walls, down the aisles, 4 deep, sitting, packed everywhere, and another couple of hundred waiting to get in. And we come out on stage like, oh my God. So there were these moments. That was probably the first time me and Norman realized that this was like, we knew up to then that it was big. We just didn't know how big,
It for us in this area, right? Like, I think it also taps into something that we all kind of like, especially during that period of time, for a lot of us, we kind of idealize like South Boston, this whole like, it's like that to us. It's like, how other areas might view like Vegas and the mafia or whatever, something like that. It's like to us, South Boston and like the Southeast and like that Irish twist to it. Like, we love that stuff. It's like Dropkick Murphys and like, there's that whole mentality here is like so big. So when that came out, I think like everybody here just ate it up, and it just felt like exactly what we wanted to see. It was like hyper violent, but vigilante justice. A lot's changed in the world since then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, when this movie came out in 99, I think things were different than they are today. That's like pretty obvious conclusion to me. In what ways, making this new story with the Boondock Saints, in what ways does the story have to change to fit today's society?
All right. Well, I think that one of the things I love doing was I didn't want to take this weird half step back in history just before the internet hit, just before we all had smartphones. That's become such a part of that's why I wanted to make it take place in contemporary times. Now, of course, we start back in the day when Connor and Murphy are children. We start with them at 13 years old. But we go through a certain amount of being in Ireland, working their asses off. America's the ideal. We're going to go there and take our slice of the American dream. Their exodus from Ireland is super violent and leaves a target on both their backs. They come into the United States. We're in present day. This is almost like where the film started. Yeah. 2 Irish brothers living in South Boston. Here's what happens, right? Mm-hmm. So we come up to there, but because we're in present day, that means that the reader or the listener in this case, we did the audiobook as well. I narrated the audiobook, is going to, the reader is going to, and the listener is going to, the brothers are going to be walking by on the street what we walk by. They're going to see that we see today. You know, they're going to hear, smell, and see, and hate and love the things that we do. Note the problems. Note the groups of people we dislike, the ones we like. They're going to have the same. They're going to face the same things we do all the time. So now, you know, you could go back and do this kind of story out of Southie and then the greater Boston area back then, and it was slightly different. Or you can bring it right up to contemporary time where those people like you that are there in that area are going to like eat that up, but it's like a pebble in a pond. You know, it's like when they first started releasing movies like The Godfather, this is when we all started going, yeah, mafia, outlaw culture. We love it, even though we're not from like New York or Sicily. Right.
Yeah.
We love that stuff. So what I try to do with the book is take Boondock to the next level in every single faction that we can. It was one of the reasons I made it contemporary. Also, we have a much more target-rich environment today than we had. But there are brand new crimes. There is corruption that everyone's pissed off about.
Yeah.
And you want the brothers going after some of these guys to satisfy us today, you know? So that was one of the reasons. But then it just took everything to the next level. You know, if you liked all the one-liners from Boondock, you get dozens more here. And if you liked all the humor from Boondock, we go way deeper. If you liked sort of the making fun of pop culture in Boondock, we go way deeper here. If you like the excitement and the actual action in Boondock, guys ripping toilets off, jumping off roofs with them, we go far deeper with this. We roll deeper. It's a much more deeper personal journey, and making it contemporary, putting the brothers in boots on the ground today in our day and age got me a whole bunch of beautiful things in this story that I couldn't have gotten by taking what I believed was a kind of pointless half step back in history that took away way more than it gave us.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. And what you said, I was like, I couldn't agree more. The crime is different today. The types of crimes we see, the themes in the crimes, like it just feels different. There's so much different overall.
Yeah, and we also get the best of both worlds. The brothers are on a clandestine search for their father, which is one of the new themes we've added in here. We touched on it in 2, I think, but is the legacy, the bloodline, family legacy, the idea that are they choosing to do this or were they chosen? You know, how was it they followed in the bloody footsteps of their dad, never having known the man, So we're also able to go back to that kind of time period and even before it, when their dad was active, when their father was active in Boston. The brothers are walking the same streets their dad did 25, 30 years before, right? He did a lot of stuff. So we're going to be able to see legendary hits by Il Duce, and mobsters go down and know the reason. So we're going to be able to, when you take, oxygenated blood and send it through those veins and vessels that connect the present and the past, it's really fun stuff. Imagine the brothers walking into a bowling alley in present day.
Yeah.
And it morphs to what it was back in the day, some type of mafia stronghold. Dad walks in, does something truly devastating. The brothers walk out in present day like they've just been where their father did something, have no idea.
Right.
These types of things are the way we can connect present and past and play with legacy and dark family legacy, which I love, and start to suggest that the stories here can go much more human, much more spiritual, delve a lot deeper than just, I want you pondering that question. Did they choose or were they chosen?
Yeah.
And I want to give both sides of the argument the exact same number of bullets so that you're both right, but that's never going to be solved. You're never going to get to, no one's actually right at the end of the day.
What's the more enjoyable experience, writing the film that you wrote or writing this now, like the extension of it?
Okay, I'll tell you this, and it almost pains me to say it. Writing this book was the most joyous writing experience I've ever had. You know, I remember writing the script, I remember where I was the day that creative bomb hit me. Like, hey, what if we showed the flashback? We showed the crime scene investigation by the cops first, and then showed the brothers do it in flashback.
Yeah.
Now, that one little device got us so much. The fans loved that, you know, because it answered the cops' questions. Oh, that's what happened, right? They loved that kind of playing around with time frame. Okay. And I remember the day I thought of that. I'm like, oh man, this is great. Those revelations while I was writing a book were just so much. And look at it. Script's 110 pages. This is like 600 pages of a book, 22 hours of a audio book that I narrated myself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like double the length it should be, both on the literary side and the listening side, right? And it's because I kind of knew where the story where it was going to begin, and where this first one was going to end, and volume 2 would begin. And in doing that and telling that story, the reason it's long, and a very, very deep journey, is because I kept having aha moments the whole time. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, there was no real brick walls I ran into. There was only like new doors that would open all the time, and me realizing, oh God, this new character can now tie in over here, because I was
Right.
hoping I could figure out. It was just like this, almost like playing Tetris with good ideas. You
It
know,
really feels like this story is inside of you. Like this is a story that like comes from somewhere really deep inside of you. And I wonder what if like you have what your connection is to this storyline.
I think the story was inside of me from the very beginning. It was the relationship between the brothers was an exaggerated relationship between me and my own brother, who were both living as poor guys, trying to be in a band, trying to form our band in Los Angeles. And we were living in shitholes, getting robbed.
Yeah.
And, our car, my brother's truck got broken into, dealing with some real, some bad crime. But what happened, like after Boondock was made and released, the fans would ask me all these questions that didn't make much sense to me, up to and including, like the questions you would that you would think they would ask, like, how come they didn't know their dad? If they got in a shootout with them, they don't know, they didn't know this guy. That's a logical one. Do the brothers agree on killing, or is there some dissension between these? But then, how did they meet Rocco? Why would you wonder about that? That seems like such a small thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I never like to think about the movie characters, the iconic characters that we all loved. Like I didn't emerge from The Godfather and think, I wonder how The Godfather's relationship with his mom was. I didn't think about it. I'm like, this is awesome mob stuff. And I didn't like Rocky. I wasn't like, when Rocky grew up, was he abandoned by his father? We didn't ever thought about that in those ways. But because it was a cult thing, because the fan base takes the brothers so personally. I mean, we're talking, they're the most tattooed movie of all time. They know all the words. There's drinking games based on how many times you say the word fuck. It's insane how well they know this movie. They can recite it from top to bottom, every piece of dialogue. So what happened is, over the years, all these questions that fans asked me, it built it up brick by brick, the story of the book. I was just answering their questions.
So
Guess
essentially,
what? Here's what happened with their dad,
So much of this is fan driven because they've almost planted the seeds of like, these are the things that we need to delve into. This is what we need to expand on.
I talked to somebody interviewed me the other day, and they said something like, it's almost like fan fiction by the original author.
Yeah.
And it really kind of is. The fans don't have any idea how much of this that they actually put in my head. Like when they say, how did the brothers meet Rocco? Right now, I know that's important to them.
Right. They want to know that.
If you read the book, but there's Rocco's introduction is a chapter called Rocco.
Yeah.
And we get into kind of his life and who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And we show how the brothers met him.
Yeah.
and why they became such fast friends.
That's
And
also what makes the book, I think, a great format for that, because you can take time and delve into things like that. Where in a movie, you're trying to keep it concise, you're trying to, keep the story flow going. You can't always go into those other little side stories. So the book makes like the perfect platform for that.
yeah, that's a very keen observation. There are things you can't get into in movies that deeply.
Yeah.
It's like in the films, the brothers were almost ready made, right?
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
came after them. That's it. We're gonna go kill everybody.
Yeah.
You didn't see how they got there, and you can do that, and it's a romp, right? It's a romp. You can pull that off in film. In books, I mean, it's almost why a book is almost better than the movie every time, because you get to delve into the story and character a lot deeper, and
Yes.
people get to connect to that. So I got to go way deeper with all the characters. Like there's new aspects of Rocco that were not in the film. For instance, bit of a spoiler, but Rocco is basically a mafia gangster savant. He's the guy that has his pulse on the criminal underground of Boston. This not only is going to make him much more valuable to the brothers' mission at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but while he's in the mafia and this kind of dead end job with the mob of package boy, they're not going to allow him to go to escalate. We get to see how he slams his finger in every leak, stops things from happening. He's the guy that all the underground people actually listen to.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost like this tabernacle, like a consigliere for all of the criminal underground. They go to Rocco and ask, "What the fuck do I do?" And he always helps them. And he doesn't tell his own bosses that he's doing any of it. He has this kind of stumpish sense of pride, right? This is a new aspect of Rocco we haven't seen. But then when you do something like that, you delve into a character like that, okay, is that the only thing I get out of that? Is that the only way I profit from Rocco being a savant gangster? No. Connor's the guy, the planner. He looks at that in Rocco and recognizes himself. This guy does what I do. I take care of me and my brother. I plan everything. These little escapades we're going on at night, these little vigilante things we're doing. I'm the guy that puts that plans the entire event, our escape route. Blah. He identifies with Rocco because of that.
Yeah.
So every time you go deeper with a character or bring in new characters, it's more than connecting a dot A to B to C. What it is expanding the story and opening up story element and character element that allow people to get even more personal about it, go on a much deeper personal journey. One of the things I love is that one of the brothers is very spiritual, kind of believes in it, prays for real. The other one is like most of us. It has he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Really believe in all this? Did he really walk on water and come back from the dead? I don't know. And it strikes me that, if there is a God, he could be doing a much better job taking care of shit down here, right? So, so you have one that has faith, and the other one is like most of us, up and down, not really quite sure, right? And that brings in, and the two brothers themselves, brothers disagree on fucking everything.
Yeah.
So it allows me to explore both sides of every issue that challenges them.
Yeah.
And you get to pick the guy you agree with and identify with him more and more. But then what if the other guy has a point down here on this one? Wait a minute, I'm going from Team Connor to Murphy on this one. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's all these differences that the brothers have that we didn't get to explore. Like you said, in a 2-hour film, there's a lot you can't do. And here, oh man, those just open up so many doors. Their differences are just as interesting as their similarities. So I got to delve deeper with all the characters, create new characters, delve deeper with them, which brings a lot of brand new nerve endings and connections throughout the whole story. And then one of the things I got to do with the bad guys too. We go into their kind of backstories, and you understand more about how they became who they are, and you get to ask yourself questions like, could I have survived that?
Sure.
How would I be if I got treated like that, or if I had to go through that? So this gray area comes like, this guy needs to go. Connor and Murphy are right. And we're now going to watch them prep for this event, plan it out meticulously. It's all going to go wrong, but they're going to succeed and get out by the end of their asses.
And it
that
will
guy
somehow
needs to
look like a
go.
mastermind did it all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that
Of
guy needs to
course.
go. But I kind of, I was this close to going, he's got a point.
See, I love that, and I think that's what makes vigilante stories like interesting to me is when we add that element of like, but is it ever okay to
Yeah.
really put it, justice into your own hands in the way that some of these vigilantes do? And that it should be a debate. It should be a consideration, right? That should be a topic of consideration.
Yeah. And vigilantism today, I think, is I worry. I kind of worry. And the hero's journey is basically vigilantism.
Yeah.
For the last thousands of years, we're dealing with an old theme here, one of the first ever established. But we just got our own new twist on it. What's really going on with vigilantism today scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
We have guys killing, healthcare dudes and the guy that killed Charlie Kirk. These guys think they're vigilantes. They think they're heroes doing the right thing, right? I look at that and I'm like, whoa! I mean, you guys would both be victims of Connor and Murphy McManus.
Yeah, a general thing in society is just remembering like there's supposed to be, checks and balances and ways that we handle, situations, and for one person to take it into their own hands, who's to say that it's their role to do so? You know what I mean? And
yeah, and who's to say who does it right? There's a bunch of people that lionize the Mangione and Robinson and do think that they're heroes. Now, I way on the other side of that. They're murderers to me and had entirely the wrong idea. But look at what's happening now, just out there in the public. We're seeing these protests, and these people are literally putting on their superhero outfits. It's masks and helmets and weapons going up against, society. And it scares the crap out of me, because what happens when, like, our type of vigilante comes out? Because it's already, now there's counter protesters, and things are starting to get super violent.
It's 100% a situation that can perpetuate itself over and over and over. And just what it leads to is more violence, more fear, more division. And that's unfortunately the direction that we seem like we're going. And I'm sure that's part of what, like, the point is of bringing attention to these kind of things. It's, this is what we want to avoid.
There's a definite, sort of societal essay in terms of what Connor and Murphy do and what they face and what their reaction, all revolving around vigilantism. There's definitely some, it's timely. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But, in literature, and I think, for me in life, there is a right side and a wrong side. It does boil down to that. You have to pick a side at the end of the day. I've obviously clearly picked mine with Boondock. It's almost like if there were vigilantes in your neighborhood, what kind of guys would you want them to be?
Right.
Right. For me, it would be guys like Connor and Murphy that do not take this lightly. The whole ritualization of the body. That's why I put in the Catholic ritual there. Mm-hmm. They're not the guys that kill the guard in order to get to the mafia, like nonchalantly blow somebody away who probably just a hourly wage worker with a wife and family. What you kill the guard for?
Right.
He's just doing his job. But Connor and Murphy take this very seriously. They get the right guys. They never really screw up. And that's what you'd want. If you had active vigilantes in your town or city, you'd want people that took it seriously, got the right guys every time, and that were essentially good people. You wouldn't want to see, frankly, hothead, trigger-happy douchebags that didn't know what they were doing.
100%, because then we're just looking at murder.
Yeah, or just like petty criminals,
Yeah.
Like, oh, you sold my mom a lemon. Just come on. And there's things like that. There's gradations of crime. One of the things I love about being able to get into the book is Connor and Murphy can take care of guys that don't make the grade. You got to be extreme to make their blacklist.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to see how they they're almost lured into that world. It's like, we do it, no, we're never doing it again. This is it. And yeah, do it again.
Right.
But there's all kinds of petty, shitty criminal assholes leading in, and they can correct them. They don't have to kill everybody, is my point.
Right.
A guy, it's like the way we grew up and talked to our start of our discussion. We grew up in New England.
Yeah.
We self-police in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It starts with the family. It goes out. How many times did you have some old dude or somebody else's parent, grab you by your ear and bring you home, and suddenly your dad is like, "You did what?" And it's like they're all just above us, like this umbrella protecting and punishing us,
right,
and getting us to act right the whole time. This is what Connor and Murphy do. If they do run into people that just need to be checked, put in check, and not killed, that's going to be incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I love about this whole scenario is these fans have been. This is a long suffering fan base, and this in a lot of ways. I mean, it's for the crime thriller reader. You don't have to be a Boondock fan you don't have to know Boondock Saints to read this book or listen to this audiobook. But it was a love letter to the fans, and one of the reasons was the over the 25 years. I mean, they've gotten 4 hours of film. Boondock 1 and 2. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to the 3, but that's going to be at least a year and a half to 2 away. And that is if they hit every marker they need to perfectly now.
Yeah.
So this is like a sudden deluge of Boondock dropped on their heads. Brand new, a lot deeper. The book is almost always better than the movie for the reasons we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of dying to see what these fans have to say, because it's almost like I want them to gorge. I want them to go, finally more Boondock. It's what we've been asking for forever, man. I'm sorry about this, these cameras I got.
No, I know. It's
stuff follow you around everywhere.
So Troy, I know you got to get going. But just to your point, I just want to say, I think you're exactly right. This is a franchise that I think people are always going to welcome more of. And the fact that they're going to get this big installment with so much depth, so much character building, and they have if you're not a reader, you have the option to do the audiobook, which I think is awesome for people nowadays, because a lot of people don't have the time to sit and read. So you can take it on the road, you can listen on a walk. It's amazing. The fact that we're getting this, I think, is amazing. I can't wait to see how we're gonna, how it's gonna look in contemporary time. But also, I just can't wait for some of that background character building that you're doing. I love the approach. So thank you for taking the time to tell us about this, but also thank you for doing this project. This is amazing.
Hey, thanks for the interview, Dave. This was great. It's nice to talk to a fellow New Englander.
Yeah. It's funny because I was telling you I'm at work, and when I leave, everyone's gonna be like, I wonder if anyone heard the you don't tap a man's tree story. I can't wait to. So,
well, man, I got 100 of them. If we reconnect after you read or listen to it, let's swap a couple, because there's a few that I know our time's up, but there's a few that come off the top of my head that are like, oh man, Dave would love that one.
I would love that. Yeah.
I'm just I'll give you the one-liner. One day, me and my brother found a cavalry sword hidden in the attic of an old house, and my grandmother was there. And we did exactly the wrong thing. Ask me about that one next time.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the Boondock Saints Volume 1, Blood Origin, for purchase October 21st. So that's like what? 2 weeks away. We're almost there. Yeah. So you will have that soon enough in your hands or in your ears. And can't wait for everybody to read it. And Troy, thank you for coming on. And definitely hope we can connect again soon.
My pleasure, Dave. Let's reconnect. The fans can get the audiobook and the electronic book on Amazon and Audible. In terms of pre-sales, they can reserve their copy now. It pops in their box on our pub date, which is October 21st. So looking forward to seeing what the fans have to think about this, because there is also a secret Duffy code in there. The fans are going to it's like my own little Da Vinci code that I stuck in there. And only a fan, like regular readers that don't know Boondock Saints, or just have a fun time. But the fan will be putting together their own, I see it,
Awesome. Can't wait. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. See you later.
Game over.